Today is a bit of a sad day. We're saying goodbye to my Maude Mk2 Escort that I've always called Maude. This man has decided to take this thing on. Sorry it's in such a state. End of an era. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and today is a bit of a sad day because today we're saying goodbye to my beloved, cherished, neglected, abused, ripped apart Maude Mk2 Escort that I've always called Maude. But that does mean that I can finally reveal who the new owner is and hopefully we'll get to hear from them about what they're planning to do with the car. Got to send a huge shout out and a congratulations to a guy called Barry who won the recent Patreon competition to guess the high bid for Maude on eBay. Barry was actually only £50 out with his guess, and as a result he's won himself some Maude merch, which I haven't managed to drop round to him yet, despite the fact that he only lives around the corner. So if you're watching, Barry, congratulations, massive thanks for jumping on my Patreon, and I will drop your Maude merch round to you as soon as I can. In other news, my company, Petrolhead Style, have now released their brand new Mk2 Fiesta XR2 collection of clothing and other cool products with artwork inspired by that legendary classic Ford hot hatch. As usual, all the products are premium quality, but we sell everything with small profit margins to give you petrol heads the best deal possible because, let's face it, us petrol heads want to spend all our money on our cars, not anything else. So head over to petrolheadstyle.com now to check out the new collection as well as all the other bits that we've got available. Now, with all that being said, it's time to get round to the garage to pass Maude on to her new owner. Alright, so I know that some of you won't be surprised to know that this man, Chris KEMBER, formerly of CLUMPFAB, has decided to take this thing on. Sorry it's in such a state, but yeah, this was the only way that sort of semi makes financial sense. But it's fair to say that you probably know this body shell more than anyone because you've done so much work on it over the years, right? All right, so Chris, I think the first bit of welding you did on this when I first met you was the front end, right?
Yeah. So it had a full front end other than the inner wings, all the strengthening stuff, front panels, the splash guards, and I think we did even repair the inner wings, but they weren't too bad at the time.
Yeah, if I remember rightly, I bought these panels here in one lump, and you welded them in.
Yeah.
As you say, it didn't have the inner wings, but we did put the RS strengthening here, and then you've got the other bit behind there. But there has been other bits. I'm pretty sure
I did
you did one arch.
Yeah, I can't remember what side though, but I know it has had one.
There might have been one patch on one of the rear quarters as well. I can't remember which side.
Yes, it did have I remember now, patch on this side and where the water goes down and gets trapped.
Yeah, it's a common place.
Yeah.
The splash guards, so they're still looking pretty mint, and then I did the sealer when it came back. So yeah, it had both splash guards, and I remember when you did that, you sort of said that next we really do need to do the floors.
Yeah, because we didn't weld it fully, did we? Because we knew the floors needed doing. So and that was back then.
Yeah. Anyone who watched the video that I made to show this car in detail will have seen all the rust that I did discover. But to be fair, it's no worse than I expected before I ripped it apart.
No, it's not too bad. To be fair,
it's just that you can see everything essentially. And then there's one bit down here which looks really bad. But essentially it needs the spare wheel well, so it doesn't really matter how big the hole is, does it?
No, that soon get changed.
And that's a very common place for them to go. There and there. So there she is. But yeah, I know loads of people were wondering who had bought the shell. Loads of people have been saying, are we going to find out what happens to the shell from here on? But yeah, you actually have a YouTube channel yourself.
Yeah,
and I know you've been busy working on a Mk2 Escort van, which you're having a bit of a pause on at the moment. I've been enjoying those videos, so hopefully, once you do get round to cracking on with this,
could see it.
Yeah, people will be able to follow it on your channel. And
definitely.
Yeah, I'll definitely look forward to that. So yeah, I will leave a link to Chris's channel in the description. If you're interested on seeing what happens to Maude, just go and give Chris a sub, although you are busy messing around with cars for the company that you work for as well. So yeah, very busy man.
That's it.
A lot on your plate.
Always cars in it 24/7.
And now you've got something else on your plate.
Yeah, to be fair, it's just floors, seals, usual stuff on Escorts really, so nothing too difficult. Yeah,
I've seen how much you dived into that van, like literally like cutting out the floors and the inner seals. And
well, I've got the full side missing at the moment. I managed to get a new old stock Ford side panel.
I see that.
So I'm sort of doing that at the moment. Weren't planned to, but the panel come up, so I thought, well, I've got to do it now.
These things normally grow, don't they? Like, it's fair to say you're not afraid to get stuck in where necessary. But you have sort of said that, you know, you're not going to be even looking to build this into a show car or anything like that.
No, it's not going to be a crazy car. It's literally going to be made solid again. I'm not sure on engine and drivetrain yet, but basically it's just going to be a fun thrash around car basically.
which was what it was.
That's it.
For me. So
no fancy paint job or nothing like that. So,
no, that's it. Get out and have some fun.
It was a bit of an impulse buy last minute. So
ain't they all? Ain't they all?
But so be interesting where it goes, to be honest, and I'll keep you updated.
Cool, nice one. But yeah, right now we need to figure out how we're going to get this onto Chris's trailer. Yeah, it was a bit of hassle actually getting the trailer past these cars that are parked here. So yeah, we're going to have to do the same in reverse in a minute. The floor around here isn't great. Dragging it on this hoist and stuff on this bit of the floor was a nightmare. So I thought bringing it over here might make it a bit easier, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. See you later. End of an era. Sad times. All right, so a few days have passed and I think I'm just about getting over the fact that Maude is gone, so it's time to crack on with some more jobs. Now, I've got this lightweight fiberglass bonnet over here that was fitted to Maude, and I'm planning to fit that to Heidi, my now only Maude Mk2 Escort, at least temporarily until I'm able to get myself a carbon fibre bonnet from my good friend Gary Ball. Links in the description for anyone who's after any carbon fibre bits. So yeah, this bonnet's definitely going to need a colour change before I can fit it to Heidi, but I also want to try and improve this situation. It's just a bit flimsy. This bonnet doesn't actually have a cross brace on the inside. And the fact it's so flimsy is just going to make it difficult to prep and paint in the first place. And it just looks a bit rubbish because it sort of sinks down in the middle. But before we get on with that, I've got some decorating to do. All right, so this is it after a second coat, and I can already see that it's just so much lighter in here. So yeah, well worth doing. It hasn't perfectly covered everywhere, but that's inevitable really. To get it to cover in every little bit, you'd probably need to sort of dab it with a brush, and yeah, I've already spent way more time on this than I wanted to. One thing worth noting, whilst I was doing this and sort of looking at the top here, I think that a lot of my leak problems might actually just be between the wall and the roof. When it does leak, there's definitely more water around the edges than in the middle. I don't think it's only coming from there. There are a couple of spots on the roof that definitely look iffy, but yeah, I reckon I could probably vastly improve this just by chucking something around the edges. So yeah, I don't know if I should use expanding foam for that, or if there's some sort of sealer I can throw in it. I don't know. All right, so the outside of this bonnet is just going to be rollered with satin black paint, because I think it'd be impossible to get this thing to look straight enough to have shiny beige paint to match the rest of the car. But before I do any painting, I really need to sort this out. It's really flimsy and, you know, it's just dented in. but I have noticed that if I sort of hold it down in the middle where there is a swage line on a Mk2 Escort bonnet, if I hold it down there, it actually looks okay-ish, or certainly good enough for it to look semi-okay with a satin black paint job. So essentially I need to get this bonnet to stay like that and put something on the inside that's going to make it less flimsy. And here it is, just a length of aluminium tube. The back of the bonnet wasn't as flimsy as the front was, but I decided to first put a bar in the centre to sort that out. I cut the tube slightly too long and then bent it so that it'd lean against the bonnet skin when it was installed, and then I jammed it in place, and it looked like it was going to work really well. Happy days. I then cut 2 more pieces of the tube to go from left to right on the bonnet, and then modified them slightly so that they'd fit over these humps. I was going to be using fibreglass filler to bond the rods in, so I sanded the bonnet where the rods were going to be and sanded the rods themselves. This will make the fibreglass filler stick a lot better. Once the centre bar was in position and I was happy with it, it was time to mix up the fibreglass filler and chuck it in all around where the rod is. I was very generous with the fibreglass filler, especially at the ends of the rod, and then the next day I added the 2 other bars with a load of fibreglass filler, and I put some weight on the skin to make sure it was in the right position. Once all the fibreglass was dry, I brought the bonnet to my back garden, and it was clear that the brace was doing a really good job of making the bonnet less flimsy. Before I could prep it for paint, I needed to remove all the pieces of mesh and also these plates for the bonnet pins. Out came the drill to drill out all the rivets, and then it was time to cover up this lovely signal blue paint. Out came the DA sander to key up the blue paint, and once I'd done a little corner, I decided to paint a test patch just to make sure I wasn't going to get any reactions. I wasn't going to use any primer. Apparently this paint can go straight on top of rust. I cracked on with prepping the rest of the bonnet, and with no reactions from the test patch and the blue paint now all smooth and keyed up, it was time to get the roller out to chuck on the satin black paint. It went on nice and smooth, but it was clear it was going to need at least 1 more coat. Next I turned my attention to the bonnet pin plates, and after a DA I grabbed the etch primer from my friends at BODICRAFT in Watford, link in the description. Don't forget to use code MH10. Once the plates were primered, they of course went in my spare room to dry, and once the bonnet was dry I gave that a second coat, but it was going to need at least another one. Once the plates were dry, they got a coat of satin black, again from BODICRAFT, and then eventually the bonnet got its 3rd coat, and that was all it was getting. The next day I refitted the mesh and the bonnet pin plates using nuts and bolts instead of rivets, which was an absolute mission. I wish I just riveted them on like last time. Alright, so the bonnet is now all back together, and I'm really not happy with it. The paint job is shocking. You can see all the tram lines and stuff from the roller. I was hoping that using the satin black paint I would get away with it like I can with the matte paint, and yeah, I was hoping that the tram lines and that wouldn't be visible, but yeah, if you're rolling paint on, it really does have to be matte, but I'm not redoing it now. And ultimately, this bonnet is only a temporary bonnet until I manage to get myself a carbon fibre one. Also, I really wish that I riveted these bits back in rather than nut and bolting them. It took ages to nut and bolt them in, but my rivet gun is over at my other garage, and I didn't want to drive 40 minutes each way to get it, although it probably would have been quicker because this took so long. But yeah, it is what it is. It's all done now. I do need to get a little brush and paint over these blue bits in there because that will annoy me. But yeah, one thing I sort of didn't anticipate with regards to bolting these bits in is that I wasn't able to get on the back of some of the bolts for the bonnet pin plates. So I had to basically carve out more of the fibreglass just so that I can put the nuts on the back. So yeah, it was just a nightmare. Should have riveted them on, as I say, but yeah, that bonnet, although I'm not happy with it, it is now ready to chuck on Heidi. In other news, I've had a huge batch of bits back from the zinc platers, including these bonnet hinges that I'm going to be using on that fiberglass bonnet. These have had the oval holes elongated to give me a bit more adjustment because the fiberglass panels just don't fit as well as a metal one. In here I've got some bits that I've taken off of Maude before I got rid of her, which have been zinc plated, door latches and that sort of thing. Here I've got some pedal box parts, which I'm going to be throwing in the next pedal box that I'm refurbing. And then in here I've got a load of random bits, harness eyes and yeah, bits for the doors and whatnot. And then over here I've got a wheel brace that belongs to my good friend Dale that I got zinc plated for him. And Dale has helped me out yet again with some sandblasting. He recently blasted the pedals and the pedal box from that next pedal box that I'm refurbing. So if you're watching, Dale, massive thanks as always. And speaking of pedal boxes, over here I've got the one that I recently removed from Heidi, but I had to completely strip this again and repaint the box and the pedals because they had some beige overspray on them from when I installed the larger gearbox tunnel into Heidi. I basically sprayed that tunnel afterwards whilst the pedal box was still fitted. And yeah, seeing as I'm going to be selling this one now, I wanted to get rid of all the beige overspray. I've also treated it to some brand new rubbers for the brake and clutch pedal, and I've got a really good condition second-hand one for the throttle pedal. But yeah, it's complete with the brake light switch. All the springs and clips have been zinc plated. Got the clutch cable clip on there as well. So yeah, this will be going on eBay very soon. Also over here, I've now put together this fuel tank, which I removed from Maude and gave a bit of a repaint, and it's now dressed with all its zinc plated goodies. Got these clips, which were a bit pitted, but they look nice and bright now. Got this fitting, which I actually took out of Heidi's tank. I'm going to be sorting the fuel line out on that a different way. But yeah, this one I didn't get zinc plated. That's just in there to bung it. Still need to put a gasket on there, which you can buy on eBay. And I need to get the foam bit, which goes there, which again, you can get on eBay. But got the overflow pipe on there now, all zinc plated with the clips. Got this bit here where the fuel cap screws into, all zinc plated. Got this Jubilee clip thing zinc plated. That one's just a generic one, so I didn't bother getting that done. But yeah, looks mint. So I'll be throwing this on eBay at some point as well, once I've got those, that gasket and that bit of foam. In other news, continuing on from my paint job that I did in the garage, I decided to grab some CT1 sealant from Toolstation, and I've thrown that in the gap between the roof and the wall at the sides, and I've also gone round the major cracks in the mortar in the walls as well with that CT1 sealant. So fingers crossed, next time it rains, that has improved things in terms of making the garage watertight. It's definitely not going to solve the issue. I definitely need to do something with the roof. Some of you guys were suggesting that I put that sealer stuff on the roof, and we did try that. It kind of temporarily improved things. I definitely don't have the budget for a new roof, but I've got another idea in mind which hopefully will solve the leaky roof. Some of you guys were saying, why am I bothering trying to, you know, sort that garage out? Why don't I ask the landlord to do it? Well, that garage actually belongs to my beautiful girlfriend Kat. She got it with this house, so you know it's worthwhile making it a better place for me to store my cars in. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Just wanted to show you the new owner of Maude, of course, and you know, I've got another bit ready to fit to Heidi. I've got to go over to Heidi's garage very soon and yeah, crack on with a few bits, tie off a few loose ends that I wasn't able to do in some recent videos, and yeah, the story continues with her and Esther, my Mk2 Escort, of course, and I hope you're going to tune in to future videos to see what I get up to. As always, massive thanks to everyone who's tuned into this video. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check the links in the description to follow me elsewhere on social media. I'll leave my email address down there for anyone who wants to contact me, as well as a link to my own website and the Petrolhead Style website. Definitely go and check out both of those websites. Huge thanks, as always, always to my patrons for your ongoing support. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.